Dude, for 84 months. Did you intend to send me an alt-right talking point as a sub message, or are you quoting something? Oh, okay. I mean, I was never gonna get that from that. That phrasing is something I used to see a lot during the height of the online alt-right shithead stuff. Yeah, definitely like that was the kind of shit that the real hardliners would say to each other. It's how they referred to it was a meme for a while. I mean amongst them. It was a them meme. Just basically anything that they didn't if anything at all they didn't like happened. It's clown world, y'all. Yeah, make sure you read those terms of service whenever you join something, even for a trial, because it's probably got something in there about, you know, if anything with our logo on it happens to kill you or any of your family members at any point in the future for any reason at any time, you waive the right to blah, 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 blah. But I would say tonight, maybe let's not. I'm already on the downside of things. It's going to be far too easy to get me spiraling. That's fine. I'm just saying. I could rant about stuff like that forever, but I feel like I don't know, I feel like I shouldn't because I feel like my way of talking about it is only depressing. It's not really productive. I just have a tendency to rant about stuff, and I feel like all it does is just bring people down. So, including myself. I think that game thing that I want to do has also been bringing me down. I've been thinking about it a lot, but I keep walking myself into dead ends or areas of deficient knowledge in my case. I just keep oscillating between like being excited and being defeated. the most recent thing was that I keep thinking about the sort of data structure of it, of what that would look like. Because to do the thing that I want to do, I have been thinking a lot about basically, I've been kind of, I guess, attacking things that I have little experience with because I know that those are the things that I need to learn the most about. And I think I'm sort of drowning myself, is basically. I'm kind of waterboarding myself. One thing that surprised me, because initially I was thinking about like, well, JSON makes the most sense for handling like the type of data that I'm imagining. Um, and what surprised me was there's no sort of, how do I explain it? There's no tools for managing and editing um, JSON in a more, I don't know, like in a larger scale way that are like palatable. I was surprised to find. I guess because JSON is so open-ended that it doesn't really graft onto anything or something, or maybe it's one of those things where it's just like I don't know what I don't know, and maybe it's just one of those things that is inherently stupid, but I don't know that it is, and that's why nobody does it. I did stumble across JQ, but I wasn't looking for. So but that's basically where I was at with it. Is like I really would like to kind of fuck with it or not digitally, visually. Um, but most stuff that is advanced with it is abstract like that. Kind of like, yeah, essentially. I found something called Depot, for example, that was headed in the direction of what I would have liked to have. I can put a link in chat here just to give you like an idea of what I was imagining. But this is an abandoned thing that hasn't been touched since 2021. Hello. 100 huge months. Uh, this is for making forms. I'm not trying to make forms. Omni, thank you for 100 months. I feel like you have not, I don't know how you misunderstood exactly, but I don't want to make that. I want to use that to edit and plan. No, I don't have the layout. That's the part that I am trying to figure out. And I was looking for a pleasant way to lay it out that isn't like the sort of standard. Basically, usually the way you look at JSON is essentially as a tree at best. There was another thing I found, but it's not out yet. And God, what was it called? It's not out yet, and they want money. Here it is. This is probably the thing that I have found that seems the most like kind of what I want. It seems quite nice, if maybe a tad on a limited side. But as I said, it's not out yet, and they want either 16 or 30 bucks a month. No. No. To be honest, I'd rather just write the JSON by hand. Well, I don't know. I guess this has some advantages, but uh, I don't like it. An API contract? I don't know. What should I look at to understand what you're saying? Oh, swagger.io maybe? Oh, you mean like API planning, I guess? Not really. So, look, there's multiple things going on here. One is that I don't really know what the data structure should be yet. And I do know, because I edit JSON quite frequently, that editing huge, massive JSON is really unpleasant because JSON gets big fast. Um, so my hope was just really that there would be some sort of visually pleasant way of manipulating a large schema, I guess. But I don't think that there is. So I'm probably going to abandon that idea. But I'm also sort of oscillating between like this is all in my head right now, right? And the way that I have it in my head is kind of mashed together, and I am realizing that probably what I have mixed up in my head right now wouldn't really translate out to a good map anyway. Because some of it, the gosh damn it. See, this is why I'm like kind of frustrated right now with the whole thing. Like, how am I getting stuck in the mud with like the first or second step I take? Why am I like this? Why do I do this to myself? Basically, like some of the stuff that I'm thinking of would actually be classes. It's not really going to be data. But what I'm trying to wrap my head around is that for something like this, where there's persistence and I need to be able to save out the data, the whole state of everything, blah, 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 I need to have that in mind from the beginning, I think, particularly if it's going to be something that is very wide in scope, right? I need to think about that stuff. And I'm trying to just kind of unravel it in my head of like what is what. It probably is, I don't know, whatever. I'm sure I'm doing stuff that people have been advised against doing on a fucking, I don't know, Stack Overflow fucking thread. Whatever, man. Whatever. I'm sure there's a fucking thread from 2009 that says my name and don't do the things that you're saying in 2024. Probably, right? That's how some of this stuff feels sometimes, especially when I'm like looking it up too. I almost hate finding any thread anymore because the threads are depressing to fucking find. The way people talk to each other, the way people answer quote unquote things where they like basically talk down to somebody for a really long length of text, but they actually don't answer the thing. Actually, my biggest pet peeve is when people um respond with the why do you want to do this? Like sometimes people are mistaken or wrong. That's fine. But so fucking frequently people are like, I don't understand why you would ever want to do this. Like, yeah, you don't know the use case, man. It's so infuriating, especially when you know that you have a valid use case and then you see like just a shitload of that from people. It's like, just, you didn't even need to write anything. Why didn't you just go away? That's the why question. Why are you here? Oh, well. I think my, where I'm at is that I think that I'm trying to get my head around what the whole idea even is. And there's so much stuff that I have no vision into or experience with that I wonder so much about, and I wish that I had some vision into. Kind of like as I've mentioned a number of times, like RimWorld has definitely been a big inspiration behind the original idea, and I wonder very much what that all looks like underneath the hood in terms of how is that data structured? How's it grouped together? How does, you know, like every pawn, just for example here, is basically a blob of data. There's a whole bunch of stuff associated with each and every pawn. You know, their whole skill set, their traits, their appearance, all those little details. How's that all laid out? I have no idea. What aspects of that are saved? So when you save a game, how's that work? Is it just locations? Are they recreated every time you load the save back up? Ba-ba-ba. I don't know. Um, I don't know, man. Are they? In local low, huh? They are RWS files. RimWorld save, I guess. And that is indeed XML. Wow, that's wild. I was worried I would get yelled at for considering JSON. Apparently, I need some sort of XML extension. Oh, it's because it's an RWS file. I wonder if I should just... new file. XML. Yeah, I'm already ahead of you. Ooh, 539,000 lines. Ugh. But now I can close trees. All right. Game. Unless there's an entry that breaks the trees. Rip. Ripperino. I guess I could delete that one. If I can find it. Alright, I'll just delete that. There we go. Another one. This is super literal. Player faction, def, player faction, faction def, player colony. Parts. Parts? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Oh wow, the amount of ticks that were saved. Good lord. Game ender. Game ending true. Ticks to game over. Hmm. I wonder how much of this is vestigial. Recent incident anomaly. And it's just a list with 4 entries, and each and every one of them just say false. Okay. That's mysterious. Ah, God, I hate the way stuff breaks trees when you're trying to, like, yeah, I probably need a fucking extension for, like, because I'm just using the built-in VS Code. like tree whateverness. Like if there's anything that's like got new lines in it, it breaks it, right? So then I can't actually close a node because it has some bullshit in it that breaks it. It doesn't know that it's not the actual end of the node, and there must be something smarter than this, right? No. XML tree. No, nothing. XML tools, XML tree view, XML formatting. Install, I guess. Format document. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I forgot this was a 600,000 line XML file. Oops. 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 Hasn't it? Probably hasn't. What is it? It's been updated today. Perhaps you're thinking of a different XML tools. I was talking about the no, I mean, you guys can't see what I'm doing. I was adding an extension called XML tools to VS Code. And then I asked it to format this XML file to see if that would help with the trees. And I'll tell you, it didn't. It didn't. Oh, let's see. I do have an XML document side menu thingy now. Oh boy. It's trying to figure out all 600,000 lines. Like I could browse through this quickly if there weren't entries that have new lines that break the nodes. That's all I'm trying to solve. That's all I want to solve. To be honest, this isn't totally different from what I would be experiencing with a giant JSON file either. The following animals have gotten sick. Stallion 5, Stallion 3, Stallion 9, Foal 7, Stallion 7, Mare 2, Mare 6, Foal 8, Foal 6, Stallion 2, Foal 4, Stallion 8, Stallion 1, Foal 5, Mare 1, Mare 4, Foal 9. It is never going to show me this XML tree. It simply can't. File too big. It's for the best. Legends for the best. Unfortunately, there's like a billion entries in here that have some sort of new line thing that breaks the nodes, so I can't really. Like, I just want to close like larger groups and get a sort of bird's eye view of how this is laid out, but I close one and then it's like I'm trying to close the history node, but it starts with history and then ends with, it seems many of the boomalopes in the area have been driven insane. I don't think that's the end of the history node. I have a feeling that's not the end of the history node. Normally it would be /history. Yeah, this is definitely not coding. Far from it. I'm going to close this. Wow. This has done something to my computer. It shouldn't have done anything to my computer because it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Like I can't get my mouse on the other computer now. Oops. I think I tried too hard to do it. Now I don't have a mouse on either computer. Very cool. Love that. Love that for me. There we go. Nope. There we don't go. I don't know. Something's not happy. I'm going to restart my computer. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I think my learning process may actually just be pain required. I think that might be just how it works. Tell you what I don't need right now is a dog barking at me. That is the last thing I need. All I was trying to think about, by the way, was just planning. That's it. Just planning. But I was kind of, I don't know, approaching it in a weird way, I guess. I'll probably continue to approach it in a weird way. I just thought planning some stuff out, probably the thing to do. I just have a lot of trouble. My mind just flies in all kinds of directions with this stuff. It just goes all over the place, you know? And long term, I think I'm fine. I do things that eventually I will get to something or other. You know, smaller pieces is basically how you do anything. You just have to attack small pieces of the thing. But I go into a sort of instantaneous burnout because my mind is just reeling on different parts of a thing, you know. Like yeah. Well, so the way I envision this working is that there's a sort of, I mean, again, it's not dissimilar from RimWorld in many ways. Basically, I kind of imagine the part of it that is the stream being kind of the game master in a way. And that would have this sort of overarching worldview. But if it's going to be something that can support hundreds or thousands of simultaneous characters, then I have to think about stuff like, well, how do I, like, it can't, how does that sort of simulate the whole time and not, you know, come crashing down to its knees? Like, how can I have a lot of this stuff continually happening and be able to view it and have it run, you know? And the individuals would be, I don't know. It's hard to even like describe this correctly to people. All of the players would be autonomous actors and they wouldn't be logged in all the time. I was talking about this with Nakomi because that presents all kinds of weird problems. Like, what do you do about what if someone opts in? Because I would not assume that a pawn should instantly be in as soon as somebody like signs in. You should sign in and then you do whatever customizations and then you sort of spawn into the world for the first time. But from then on, your character is this autonomous actor in the world. But what if that person never signs in again? So there probably needs to be some sort of a system for decay where, maybe after a period of days or weeks or something, their autonomous actor degrades somehow, like maybe it just stops being as effectual until eventually it kind of goes into like cryo sleep or something, some sort of stasis, and it just stops being a participant in the world. That's sort of a weird aspect that I have to think about that I don't think is normal for uh, most games. Um, but I mean, not new either. I'm not saying I invented something, but just like I mean, RimWorld's pawns are like that. Pawns are autonomous actors that you're just sort of guiding through a plinko machine of scheduling and priorities, right? And I'm doing the same thing or trying to. Well, so with what you're saying, Zell, it's it's kind of like RimWorld without the ability to pause. So if what each of the pawns are doing is effectual to the world, I mean, I guess I would have to have like I guess it's a question of how much of that simulation of the world can be accurate without any representation, right? So if you imagine the stream is showing a bird's eye view of the world, so it could be at any zoom level, let's just call it a zoom level. This is all abstract. But let's say you're zoomed fully out on the world in the stream view, which is the world view. Obviously, you can't show every individual pawn, every individual tile, every single thing that's going. You wouldn't want to. It would not run. It would be 0 frames per second to do that if you have a significant enough, population of pawns or whatever. That part's obvious. That's a rendering problem. But then what those individual pawns are doing is supposed to be effectual on the world. Everything that they gather, everything that they contribute, every action that they take. So that still needs to be happening. But so without rendering, maybe that's not that costly. Or maybe it's something where, yeah, you just have the answers, I guess. Like, you know how long something's supposed to take, no matter what it is. Like, even if
I know you guys
visually,
don't see any of that. I see all of that.
Mr. Revolution, thank you for 106 months. Yeah, like even if a pawn is like it takes like a minute to travel from point A to point B, and then it's going to spend 20 seconds mining an ore, just for example here, and it's going to get a certain amount, and then it's going to take a certain amount of time to return. All of that is fluff, really. You could just say the pawn got this much ore. You don't have to do the traveling or any of that stuff unless you're showing it. So you can still be accurate with a simplified simulation. And so with how I'm thinking of doing this, I have to think through that stuff and figure out how that kind of thing works. But then I also want to have this ability for people to be able to have their own view of their pawn in the world. So in that case, I suppose it would be client side for them, all of this stuff happening that they're seeing happen because they're just seeing it real time. They're seeing their pawn travel around and do things and get stuff and blah, 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 blah. But that should be synchronized. It should be the same things that are happening in the simplified simulation, the same exact results, regardless of how it's viewed. Ultimately, at the end of it, right? Every time, whatever, every frame, I guess. Not frame, but you know what I mean. When it matters, it should come to the same result, whether it's simplified or if it's real time display. Right, 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 right. Because I would really like it to be able to be large scale, because I don't think it's compelling if it isn't. But if it's going to be that, then I have to think of how can it be that and be functional. So for the individual players, they would have the only real time literal view of what's going on. But the main like worldview could touch into that at times, I guess. Like it could go into that mode of like it could lock onto a pawn for a little bit and just focus on one, just kind of watch what they're doing for a little bit, and then in that case, then it would be again just a more of a rendering problem than anything. Some part of me really wants to like prototype that particular flow. Like I'd really like to be able to get a prototype together of the whole sort of stack of like there's the main server, there's the client, there's the worldview, and then have, you know, that difference of where something simplified is happening here, something complex is happening here. They're intercommunicating and remaining in sync. Like I have a lot of the pieces from a high level view, kind of understood. And so where I've fallen into frustration is like kind of deciding how to attack, like what's the next step? What's the next area of attack? What do I want to do next? What do I want to think about next? And I think that it's been just made more frustrating by the way my schedule is, like with work, and I kind of like have been torturing myself somewhat because I work more than my normal, like what my hours are. There's an inevitability there that I think that's just almost applicable to everybody on Earth. And then I have 3 hours stream every single day. And then all the in between time I spend just sort of mentally torturing myself. Weekends are just nightmares for me. Every weekend ends with me just being like, what have I done? I don't know that there's anything really legally about it. Is there? Isn't this kind of America's status quo? It's always more wishy-washy. I'm not in one of those situations where overtime is demanded of me explicitly. I don't know. I don't think that they will, Zell, because that already happened here, and they're still here, evidentially. Although many things did go overseas, so it's not all just that, but nevertheless, that just sort of leads to a like if that's the rationale, then the end of that rationale, if you follow that on, is just a world of slavery. Like, well, we can't try to make things better because then they won't let us have that. So instead, we should just be slaves. That's the best route. I feel like that doesn't sound super great. But there is indeed a I mean, it's the same. Don't get me fucking ranting on shit, man. You know I hate corporations. I can't see your clip because I can't get my mouse over to my other fucking computer. And I don't know why. Probably because I'm using a weird version of Synergy that is like a decade old and hasn't been updated for a decade. Maybe I should try using one that has actually been updated since they are still making it. I'm just afraid that it's gonna not work in some different way. But yeah, I mean, if you really want me to rant, I believe corporations will take and take and take and take. I think it's quite obvious that they will always do that forever and ever and ever. And it's insane to me that anybody would get on like the we have to deregulate things train because it's pretty fucking obvious that if they are not regulated, that's how you get shit like, oh, they dumped chemicals in this neighborhood and now all the children have cancer. It's how we get shit like PFAS and so on and on. I mean, it's an unending list of like corporations fucking killing us and stealing from us and et cetera, et cetera. Whatever they can do, they will do. So I'm more in the camp of kill the corporations rather than kill the people, is kind of where I fall. Anywho, that probably signals that we've reached the end of my usefulness for the evening. So I'm going to run away. Sorry for not doing RimWorld tonight or whatever. I just wasn't, I was not feeling well. And I still don't. And it is what it is. But y'all have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.